And I'm telling you, it has been a Saturday already. It is cold outside, and I'm ready for some chili. I'm ready for the venison chili. I have to tell you, I've been working hard. And so I'm hoping that everybody can see me and that you can hear me, because I'm going to be back and forth actually at the stove. And so I just put on my trusty gloves because we're going to be making venison chili. Now, I wanted you to see the venison meat, because I'm not trying to pull a fast one on you, but this is the meat that I got from my dad. So I hope you guys can see it. Hope you guys can see it. And so you'll see here that it looks a little different from ground beef or even from bison. So I'm going to go ahead and put this meat into the skillet. Oops. I did want to show you this also. So because we are live, I wanted to go ahead and start working on some of the ingredients for this dish. Now, I liked red onions, and so I went ahead and I sauteed or started sweating some red onions. At the same time, I started to sweat some celery. I did celery and I made it sort of chunky, as well as the red onions. I didn't want to lose the crunch or the texture of either one. So I didn't chop them up and saute them. I just kept them sort of on the large side, and then I started to sweat them just a little. Now, in addition to the, hi Pauline, in addition to the celery and the onions, I've got some jalapeno peppers. So hopefully you can see these jalapeno peppers. They're hot, but I seeded them and then I chopped those up because I didn't want them to be as evident in the dish. So I'm going to dump them in. Okay? So I'm dumping the jalapeno peppers into our dish. So now we have jalapeno peppers, and I've got the red onions, and I've got the celery. So I'm just going to mix this together. I don't know if you can hear the sizzle, so I'm trying to bring the skillet to you so that you can hear the sizzle. You see the celery, you see the green, which is jalapeno, not green pepper. So I'm just going to mix this all together. Sort of marinate. And what I have here is some canola oil. I could have used olive oil, but canola oil was what I touched, and so I just pulled that out, and that's what I added together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the venison. And that's why I have my gloves on, because I wanted to be able to do it fairly quickly, and I wanted to be able to break it up. So I'm just going to start sauteing. I'm going to turn my burner down because my burner was up because I wanted to make sure we had a little sizzle there. Now, because venison is very much like bison or turkey, it doesn't have a lot of fat, so I'm going to add a little oil. And it's almost like magic. Some of the sizzling that we were hearing, it begins to settle down. Because now we've got something else. So it's not like my meat is just on fire. The sizzle begins to settle down. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's settling down. And I'm just tossing it. I'm tossing. Ooh, I just lost a red onion, but that's okay. I'm tossing the meat. I'm going to go ahead and add some salt, okay? Because I want the flavor to start melding. And I'm going to tell you, I cook by feel. Scott Conan said that he can taste food in his brain. I can feel it. And so I cook by feel. Now, of course, that may be old way of doing things, but I've been cooking since, I think I made my first batch of actual real cornbread, meaning from scratch. I think I made that when I was 9. So I've been cooking a long time. And it's one of the joys that I have in life is cooking and being able to see something come from nothing. You take all these ingredients and you mix it together and then you've got a dish. And for me, every time I do the same dish, it always tastes different because, again, I'm cooking from feel. But it's always good too. It's always good. I'm going to put some cracked pepper in here. And I'm doing that by feel also. Some people say by feel. Yeah. When I'm technical and I'm writing recipes, then I slow myself down. Then I measure everything. And then I have to keep tinkering with it because I'm looking for a certain taste. And when I cook and I'm not having to write everything down, it's instinctive. It's just an instinct that we have. So I'm going to mix the salt and the pepper. And this is beginning to smell good. I'm going to turn my burner up a little bit. It's beginning to smell good. I'm going to let you guys see it in just a moment. I'm really pleased with the onions. The onions are holding up. Can you see them? The onions are holding up, and the green and the celery. And remember, those are jalapenos that's there, not green peppers. I chose jalapenos because, again, venison it's the type of meat that you add the flavor palette. Like I said, it's like turkey, it's like bison. So whatever flavor you want, you add it on. So it's like layering. And so I knew that I wanted to layer flavors. I told you, there was a possibility, but I quickly ruled it out, that I was going to do dry beans. I had pulled out bags of dried black beans, black eyed peas, black beans, not black eyed peas, but black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans. But I'm going to tell you, when you're cooking that way, it takes some time. And I said, well, you could have done it because I would have cooked the beans free. But I said, no, that's old school. And sometimes I do go old school. But a lot of people nowadays, we're in such a hurry because our time is so limited. So I said, if you're going to show them how to make this dish, let's do it in a way that anybody can follow you, because you're going to season to your taste. But you're just going to deal with, canned beans. And so that's what I will be adding is canned beans to our sauteed meat. And our meat is almost ready. It's almost ready. A friend of mine would say, you're not going to taste it? No, I'm not going to taste it. They think it's so funny that I cook and I don't normally taste my food while I'm cooking. Well, I don't. Like I said, it's instinctive. I sort of feel it. I think I get that from my mother. She's the type of cook. She's what I call one of those old home cooks, old-time cooks. She cooks from feeling. She doesn't cook from recipes. And so I was her tester. So I know the taste that I'm looking for. And when it's not there, I'll let folks know. Oh, Pauline, I'm making venison chili. I'm making venison chili. Oh, hi, AKA. How you doing? Let me see if I can wave at you guys and not mess up anything. Oh. Well, I'm trying to wave. But anywho, hi. But I'm making venison chili. And my dad had gotten some chili, had some venison rather. And I was talking to him about something that someone had said to me about you can make venison jerky. Well, I've not had any of that in North Carolina. And so my dad didn't know about it. And he asked the people who prepared the deer if they could make it. And they said no. And I said, well, also ask them about summer sausage. Because the person had told me about summer sausage also, but they can't make that here. So jalapeno was one of the things that the person told me that they had placed in their venison summer sausage. So that's where the idea really came from about, why not put jalapeno in there and elevate the flavor? So this is probably just about ready. So I'm going to bring it back over, and hopefully I can hold it up to the camera. Or I can lift up some so that you can see it. You see it's steamy. This is real-time cooking. Real-time cooking. I'm going to let this sit for about another minute, and then we're going to start layering. Normally, I would put this in a pot, a Dutch oven, but I'm not going to do that. I'm hoping that this skillet is deep enough and wide enough to hold what I'm going to add, okay? Because normally I would just put it in a Dutch oven because it's going to have to simmer for some time. In the pot in the back is where I've got a small portion that I made a little earlier, because I knew that in order for the venison chili to get the flavors, it has to melt. So it has to simmer. I'll usually let mine simmer for at least an hour to an hour and a half. So, this is something that, you put it together and you just let it slowly cook throughout the day, or the flavors meld throughout the day. Lots of times folks will just put it on in a crock pot. I could do that. But again, I'm not going to put it in a crock pot. I'm going to leave it in the skillet, and I'm going to let the flavors just meld together. I know our meat is ready. The brown meat is ready. And you can still see some of my celery that's sort of firm because I want it to have a texture contrast. So, now what I'm going to do, that some folks would probably say you don't do this. Because I'm still doing this fast, I wanted to make sure that we actually had flavor. Thank you, my wave came through. Thank you there, Pauline, thank you. I wanted to make sure that the flavor is layered. So most times they will tell you, and recipes will say this also, to drain your beans. But I didn't drain the beans. I'm not going to drain the beans. So I'm going to put the first set of beans in. And that was just some kidney beans. I just grabbed a can of dark kidney beans. My next set of beans are going to be black beans. I'm just stirring this together. And I thought I would use black beans. One reason is because I like black beans, but also it's 7 grams of protein. And so again, anytime I'm eating, I'm trying to get the protein. And so we know that the black beans, we've got the venison, I've got the kidney beans. I'm looking at how I can layer protein. Again, I did not drain the beans because one, I'm trying to get flavor, and because I'm doing this fast, I want to give the illusion that this has been cooking for like 8 or 9 hours, but really it won't be cooking that long. So the flavor that's in the liquid from the beans is going to help me to create the flavor palette that I'm looking for. So it's just a little crumb left in here, so I'm just going to dump that there. Okay, we're going to move these cans for a moment. Now, there's a little liquid, and it's just a little liquid in my meat mixture. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some tomato sauce. And this is open because, like I said, I made some earlier just so that we'd be able to sample it. And this particular tomato sauce is basil, garlic, and oregano. Again, I want bold flavors. Plus, I knew the garlic and I knew the oregano would go well with the venison. So I'm just going to pour that in. Just going to pour this in here. Now, I also wanted to make sure that I had enough redness. But even though once this is cooked, it's still not going to be red. So I opened up a can of tomato paste. Same flavor palette. It's tomato paste, but it's got basil, garlic, and oregano. So I'm going to put some of that in also. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of the tomato paste. And that's the reason why I went ahead and put it in a dish, because if I don't use it all, then I'll turn it into a marinara sauce and use it for something else. So that's the reason why it's in this little dish, because I'm not quite sure I'm going to need it all. So I'm going to stir this now and begin to meld the tomato flavor into the chili. Now, as it's beginning to meld, let me tell you what else I'm going to put here. I like Better Than Bouillon. Now, I could have used some beef broth. I could have used some Lipton beef flavor. But I chose to use the roasted beef base, Better Than Bouillon, and then the Better Than Bouillon seasoned vegetable base. I chose to put a little of this in because it's got the garlic, celery, onions, and tomatoes. And I've got celery, onions, and tomato that's part of this flavor palette. So I thought, okay, let's add this, because I am going to have to add a little liquid to my chili. Otherwise, it's going to be just a clump, and it's not going to really have the liquid it needs so that it can kind of slide and everything start to meld together. So I've got just a little bit of both of the bases that I'm going to add to our chili. And this is just to also give it flavor. Remember, we're trying to build a flavor palette, and I'm laying the flavor in. So I'm using not only herbs and spices, I'm not only using the liquid that the beans were in, I am going to add some bouillon. And basically this beef bouillon and the vegetable bouillon, think of it as old school, what we call it, broth. You know, I could have boiled some beef and got some broth and then added that. But I like this better. It allows me to control the intensity of the flavor. And it's really good. It is really good. So we're going to start mixing that in now. I may have to use the majority of the tomato paste to get the color that I want. We'll see. We will see. We will see. Okay. I'm going to have a little liquid. So the first container I'm going to use to get some liquid is going to be the tomato sauce, because I want to get the rest of the sauce out also. Now understand that I'm adding warm water, not cold water. This is warm water that I'm putting into my dish. And the reason why is I don't want to bring down the temperature of my dish, because it's beginning to cook now. So if I'm adding cold water, you know, it's going to bring the temperature down, and I don't want to overcook it. Also, I don't want to wash out my flavors, which in theory you probably can't wash them out, but I always add warm water when I'm adding it to something that's already like I said, it's a feeling. So I'm going to add some more tomato paste. It's a feeling. And of course, I could be using a spoon, and I will later. Let all that melt together. I also wanted to add some bay leaves. I like bay leaves. I just do. They add something, and it can kind of sneak up on you. So we're going to add some bay leaves, and I'm just going to add 3. Just going to dump those in. And this is beginning to boil again. And eventually I will turn it down so that it can simmer. Starting to boil. Also, even though, my tomato sauce and my tomato paste have garlic, it's not enough garlic. And I didn't use fresh garlic, so I've got minced garlic that I'm going to add. Again, as soon as I took the lid off, I could smell the garlic, but I'm going to do it to taste or to feel. So you see I'm putting a real heaping tablespoon there. Let's see if I want another heaping tablespoon. I think I am going to want another heaping tablespoon. This is a lot of chili. A lot of chili. A lot of chili. But I don't think it's going to be a heaping. It's not going to be a heaping tablespoon. It's just going to be a nice sized tablespoon. And somebody may say, well, that still looks like a lot. It wasn't as much as I put the first time, believe you me. It's not quite that much. So we're going to mix the minced garlic in. It's beginning to smell really good in here. It smells really good. So these flavors are really beginning to meld. Okay. Now, this is when it gets to be really interesting. So now I'm going to start adding spices. How much spices? If I was writing this down, I would measure it for you guys, but I'm not writing this. I'm just cooking this for taste. So the first spice I'm going to put some Italian seasoning in there. I'm just dumping. You said you're just dumping. Yeah, I'm just sprinkling it in. But what I will do is I will mix after every time that I add something, because I want to make sure that the flavors are going throughout the dish. And the one way to do that is to make sure that I stir the dish every time that I add something. Okay. I'm looking to see if my chili that we're going to be sampling is warm. I think it is. Now I'm going to add some basil. I like basil. Basil is a secret. It always adds something. So we're going to add some basil. And I say it's a secret because, it's in a lot of dishes, and I like basil. But you sometimes don't think, well, should I add basil? Yeah, basil always takes things up a notch. I'm sitting here thinking that I thought about adding smoked paprika, but I didn't add smoked paprika. Now I'm wondering if I'm going to have to try to look at my cabinet and not have all the spices fall out and add some smoked paprika, because I did want to, I just didn't. Now, I'm only going to add a little bit of cumin. A lot of recipes call for cumin. And when I was making my sample earlier, cumin was the very last thing that I added. And I didn't put very much. So I'm going to add some cumin. Cumin is a warm spice. It's a warm spice. And a little can really go a long way. So I added some cumin. I think I need a little more down. Okay. That's all the cumin I need. Just a little more. Okay. Oh, I can smell the cumin. Oh, it goes a long way. I'm going to go back and add some oregano. I know you may say, you adding some more oregano? Yeah, I'm adding some more oregano. The oregano is in the tomato sauce and the tomato paste, but I still needed to add a little more. This is smelling good. It's smelling good. And even after the black pepper and the jalapeno, I'm still going to add some cayenne or red pepper. Because I took the seeds out and the ribs out of the jalapeno, they really are not that hot. I could have used a Scotch bonnet, but I thought, well, that may be too hot. Maybe next time I'll use a Scotch bonnet, because I do like Scotch bonnet. So we're going to put some red pepper. And I'm going to be generous with the red pepper. Okay. And we're going to let this simmer. And I'm going to see if I can possibly find smoked paprika without everything falling out of my cabinet. Of course not. I see paprika, but I don't see smoked. But I'm gonna put a little paprika in here anyway because I wanted to add some smoked paprikas, but I'm gonna put a little regular paprika. And I'll admit, it's not in the chili that I'm going to try because I thought about it and then I didn't put it in there. But since I'm making this batch up, I said, let me put it there, okay? Now, this looks good. Let's see if I can bring it to you so that you can see it. And we will turn this burner down so that it can simmer. Don't know if you can see it. And some people say, you see the steam? Ooh, the spices smell good. Okay. Now, this venison chili will simmer. I will have it on low, and I will let this simmer probably for about an hour and a half. And I'm really just letting the flavors, the spices melt and marry each other. Oh, I forgot, because that would be bad of me. I forgot. This is what happens when you add a whole lot of stuff to something. I decided that I wanted to make sure that the onion flavor was potent, and it really is not overly potent by any means. So I actually added some Lipton onion, golden onion, or not golden, this is just a regular onion. I added this also, and it's really good. You know, it's again, I'm layering the flavor, because the thing about food is whether it's soup or it's chili, whatever it is, if the flavor is not there, the food is not good. So the thing with me is I want good food. I want it to be healthy food. And believe it or not, this is pretty healthy. But you got to layer the flavor. And so that's what I've done is I've layered the flavor. Also, since I'm going to have to stir this again, I'm going to tell you, I added this last. So I'm not going to put it in this that I've got simmering. But I added some sunflower butter to the chili that I'm going to try, because I needed another flavor. Also, the sunflower butter would give me just a little nuttiness. Also, if I had over seasoned, it would then level out some of the flavor. And so I added this because I, again, was trying to add protein. So I added this, but I'm not going to add it to the one that we're making because I added it when it was really ready. So I'm going to stir this up so that the Lipton onion soup mix will have a chance to meld and marry with the other spices. And then for those who really couldn't see, I'm going to pick up a spoonful and bring it over to the camera so that you can see what this looks like. And I'm going to hold it over the bowl, and I'm going to actually put some chili in. So if it falls in that bowl, it's okay. Okay? You see what the chili is looking like? But this still has to simmer. So we're going to put this back into that skillet because it has to simmer. And I'm going to get that little bit of meat out. We're going to let this simmer. Now, my mother would get me because I just put all these spices in my way, knowing that I have to get to my pot so that I can dip out, as she would say, so I could spoon out some of the chili that I'm going to try. And I couldn't get to the pot because I had too much stuff in the way. So, let's see if it's warm. If it's not warm, that means I'm going to have to put it back on the burner because we definitely want it to be warm. Ah, it's steaming. It's steaming. You see the difference in how it looks compared to the one I just showed you? It's a different color. And I didn't use all the tomato paste, but it's a different color because this one has had an opportunity to set for about an hour and 15 minutes and just kind of meld together. Let me see if I can show you the bay leaf. Oh, there's a bay leaf. You see? I put the bay leaf in this one also. I don't know if you can see the little leaf there. You see the little stem? That's a bay leaf that I put in this also. And as I said, I added the sunflower butter last. So, I can't wait to taste it with you guys. So I'm going to dip up. It smells great. My venison chili. I know I'm going to probably have the bay leaves in it, but that's okay. I know not to eat the bay leaf. Now, you could do many things as far as topping the chili. I thought about putting a dollop of Daisy sour cream on it, but then I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Not for this serving. Then I thought about, you could put some shredded cheese on here. Then I said, I'm not going to do that. I have been wanting a crunch. Remember, I said that I didn't want to overly sweat or saute the vegetables that I put in here. So I decided that what I was going to do was add some fried onions. And I guess you said, gosh, she is really into these onions today. I am. I'm into fried onions today. I don't know why. So I'm just going to sprinkle some onions. Now I'm trying to sprinkle. They don't want to come out. There we go. Just to twist it up a little bit. But I'm also putting the onions there, and from a distance, somebody may think it was cheese, but I put the onions there because as I was preparing this earlier, I thought about something my mother said to me about my sister. My mother was making chili beans years ago, and she would keep out the beans and would not mix the meat and all the other stuff, you know, the peppers and stuff, for my sister, because she said my sister couldn't eat it that way. Well, fast forward like a year or two. I thought about it. You know, it's the texture. What I'm doing is I wanted to make sure my texture was not all soft. And texture goes a long way with pleasing the palate. You know, the food can taste great, but if everything is soft, it's like there's no differentiation between the food. And with this having beans, which is soft, then we've got the ground meat. Well, that's soft too. I need a texture contrast. And that's the reason why I didn't really saute and chop up my red onions and my celery small, because I wanted some texture there. So now what I've done is I've got the fried onions. Then I thought, well, this looks so good, you know. Normally you might have chili with corn chips, and corn chips are good. And I said, well, you've got black beans. Why not use some plantains? And these are just plantain strips. Why not use some plantain strips to dip if you want to dip? If you don't want to dip, use them to decorate your dish. And so I'm just taking out a few strips of plantain strips. Isn't that something? Taking out a few strips of plantain strips. I tell you, if I say that fast, I will be tongue-tied. And nobody will know what I'm talking about, including me. So what I've done is I've just placed a few around. I've just placed 3 around. Again, I could use the plantain. Now this is hot, so I got to blow on this. When something tastes good to me, it's just something that happens. I want to move. This is good. And then with the, you hear the chip crunching? That gives me the contrast. They're not sweet. So somebody may say, well, it's sweet. No, they're not sweet. They're not, but they're crunchy. Now I'm going to take a bite. I've got the fried onions. I know you can't hear me crunching, but I hear myself crunching. This is good. I taste a jalapeno. I think I'm chewing on a celery and an onion. And here's this little nasty, so you can see it. Here's that bay leaf. You won't be chewing on that. But again, just so you can see that, yeah, I really put it in there. Black beans. This is good. It tastes like this has been slow cooking in the crock pot for 4 or 5 hours, but it hasn't. This is only slow cooked on the stove, simmering for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. The venison is excellent. Because of the flavors that I put together, there's no gaminess. You really would not know that this is venison. You would think it was beef, but it's not beef, it's venison. And it's really good. It is really, really good. Again, you could use, you could have cornbread with this. You could use saltine crackers if you're a saltine cracker person. Any type of toast, and I'm saying toast not meaning bread toast, but cracker toast. Anything that you like to dip with, you could have that with this also. The venison chili has surprised me. Now the hard part is going to be, can I figure out what amount of each ingredient that I use? Well, of course I can. I'd have to make it again. But you can bet your money I'm going to write down every ingredient that I used so that when I go to construct my recipe, at least I know what I put in this, because I'm going to be honest. Once I've done it, I forget. And then I go back in the kitchen and I start over, and it tastes totally different the next time. But this venison chili, this is my first time making venison chili. It is good. Of course, I have to save some for my parents. My dad's got to get some because he gave me the deer meat. So I think he's going to like this. I think he's really going to like this. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be putting it in the post when I post this video. Something's cooking in 2022, and you don't want to miss anything that Taz is cooking in the kitchen. Until next time, as always, take care of you. Bye now, and thanks for joining me. Bye.